Hello, sci fi gangsters. This is the show where we talk about science fiction, fantasy, tech news, toxic geek masculinity, the electoral college. No, we don't talk about any of the other stuff. But yeah, welcome everybody. Anthony Dinar, Acid Train, Jeremy, and then our guest. We have a special guest here, Michael Mann, who looks like he's a fugitive from the FBI. He's hiding out. Hopefully, they won't find him. But I love the beard, love the red beard. I'm enjoying it. But Michael, man, how you doing, sir?
Doing good. Just over here in Texas, just hanging out, just trying to stay safe from the coronavirus.
Yeah. So obviously, we've been hearing a lot of news about Texas lately. Texas has been getting hit pretty hard over there. Where are you? So you're actually broadcasting from? Is it El Paso? I can't remember where you're from. Where you're at?
Yeah, El Paso.
El
Probably
Paso.
the worst place in the country right now.
Is that true? Would you say that's the worst place to be right now in
I
terms of the
think
coronavirus?
at least it was 2 weeks ago. It was the um, worst place to be. Cases per capita, I guess.
Are you able to go out anywhere? What have you been doing? Have you been staying inside? What's going on?
No, I mean we still go out on the weekends, and just everyone's wearing a mask, and there's not many people out, but I mean that's what we do.
Okay, so
Bars
obviously,
close at 9, so we only go out for like 2 hours and then we come home.
so Michael Mann's going to the bars for 2 hours. He's got his mask on, which is impossible with that huge beard. But he's obviously staying safe. Not that many people outside, but it's good to hear that you're staying safe in El Paso, Texas, right?
Yeah.
Michael, if you're not familiar with the show, I don't know if you've been watching the show at all. We've had three shows so far, so we're on our way to breaking records. But the way we do things here is we catch up first because this show is predominantly a show just for us to catch up with friends, like old and new, right? And we catch up, and then we have our one or two topics. Today we just have one topic: top three villains of all time, and actually a pretty hard list to create, but many of us kind of just took it, half-heartedly. But we're going to be discussing that, and then we finish off with a trivia game. How does that sound, Michael? You enjoying that? How's
Yeah,
that
that
sound?
sounds good.
How's that water, by the way? Is that a lukewarm water? What's going on there?
It's nice and cold.
It's a nice cold water. Is it cold over there in El Paso?
It's cold now. It like gets down because I wake up to go to work at 5 every morning. It's like 28, 30, 31. It's below freezing in the morning.
That's about where it's kind of at now, which is it's pretty cold right now.
I'm pretty sure it's about as cold as it gets though. I don't think it gets any colder.
All right. Well, there you go. You got the coronavirus, you got the cold weather, but you're staying safe. You're growing out the beard to keep you warm, which is good. I'm happy to hear. But yeah, so let's go ahead and we'll start our segment where we catch up. For me, I watched V for Vendetta last night. Just was scrolling through Netflix, and I wanted something wholesome for the kids. So I picked V for Vendetta. It's the first time I saw it since I saw it in theaters when I was a young kid, and
Oh, really?
I believe my review for it when I was young, when I saw it in theaters, was, this makes terrorism look good. That was my review. Watched it last night, loved it, loved the film. I thought it was a fantastic film. It kind of makes a lot of sense for what's going on right now. Like if it was made today, a lot of people would be making allegories to what's going on in terms of xenophobia and racism and all that kind of stuff that's been going on lately in the news, which is what we talk about on the show, Acid, but we don't. Acid doesn't want us to talk about politics, and we won't. But I just want to say, V for Vendetta, I love the film. I enjoyed the film, even the ambiguous ending at the end, which when I saw it in theaters when I was a young kid, dumb, didn't understand it, but I actually really enjoyed the V for Vendetta. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys enjoy that film?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was one of the better Alan Moore translations because he's had some really bad ones, but I
Yeah, I
enjoyed
agree. Yeah, I agree. I actually am not very familiar with the comic book at all. Is it a long series? Is V a long series?
it. I mean, it was. I mean, it. By the time I got around to reading it, it was released as just a graphic novel, which is how he does pretty much everything. I think so. It's not. I don't think it was released in issue format. I think it was an entire graphic novel when he released it.
Yeah, I must say I actually really enjoyed it. There many of the corny parts in there as well, where he kind of does the V talk forever, the Vietnamese, like that part I enjoyed. I don't know, I completely 180 on my review of V for Vendetta from now when I'm much older and much wiser, very smart.
That is like the opposite switch that most people have.
Really? You would say that people loved it when they first saw it, but now going back on it, they don't like it as much?
No. I was saying more of you. It's interesting that when you were younger, you thought it was a terrorist apologetic movie,
Mm-hmm.
and now you've changed. Most people harden as they age, so it's.
Well, when I grew up, I was a conservative idiot, and now.
Now you've gone soft.
Not so much. Yeah, so we'll move on. We don't want to talk about politics here, but let's go to Acid first. Acid, what's going on? Anything new with you?
Yeah, me and my wife just celebrated our 16th wedding anniversary yesterday.
Red 16.
16.
That's very long. Too long.
Too long. Way too long.
That makes sense.
No, it's a perfect amount.
Did you do anything special? What happened?
We did. We sent the kids to school as usual. I took the day off because why not? We went and had brunch at the Broken Egg, which I'd only been there once before. It was quite delicious. And then for dinner, we went to the Depot. Very train-like, I figured that would be appropriate.
And the Depot, you mean Home Depot?
Home Depot, yes, Home Depot, exactly.
You got some.
We got some power tools. That's what we got.
No, the Depot is.
It is our local restaurant that serves mainly seafood, oysters, shrimp, that kind of stuff. Very pricey, of course. You got to go all out on the anniversary. So feel free, anyone listening in the chat rooms. My bank account information is down below. Feel free to make any kind of deposits into that account that you so feel led to do.
I went to the Depot. Sorry to interrupt you. I'll let you continue about your day with your wife. But I went to the Depot one time, and I enjoyed it. It was good. I know on the menu there's a lot of things I can't eat because I'm allergic to shellfish. But I did enjoy it. But yeah, please go on. What else?
I had a steak, if that makes you feel any better. It was quite delicious. But during the day, I mean, we actually shopped around a little bit. Like I said, we got wrapping paper at whatever that place is called, Hobby Lobby, and went by a few other stores to look for Christmas gifts for the kiddos, and just whatever, just kind of did not work, which was nice. So
that is excellent. So you had a wonderful. You did do the whole day? Is that what it was?
The whole day, yeah.
The morning. You didn't drive kids around.
To the evening, yep.
Right, so you unfortunately you weren't able to drive the kids to school because you are a bus driver.
I didn't. I drove my kids to school. I drove one of them to school. I let the other one off at her normal bus stop. So,
okay.
But my youngest I took straight to school. But I did see my bus though. I did see my bus.
Okay.
And the sub driver. So, at least the kids that I normally drive, they did get to school on time. So.
Was that weird to see somebody else driving your bus? Is that a weird thing for you?
Kinda. I mean, this is the first time this has happened actually, so I'm not really sure how it would seem, but yeah, it was kind of weird. It's kind of weird.
Now, how was their driving? Do you think that their driving was adequate? Do you think that you?
I think so. I do know. I don't know the substitute driver personally, but I do know him. He's a military man. A little older than I am, yeah. So I'm pretty sure he kept those kids in line. I'm sure they didn't talk or breathe or anything the whole trip. So I'm pretty sure he did a fantastic job.
Now, are you more of an authoritarian when it comes to driving the bus? Do you allow your kids to talk? How do you handle that situation?
I mean, they pretty much chit chat and all that kind of stuff. As long as they're, how should we say, observing the safety protocols, I really don't care what they do. So,
all right. So you're more of a laissez-faire.
Yeah. As long as they're not killing each other, I'm cool.
All right. And then, of course, I only have one follow-up question. The wheels in the bus, what do they do?
They go round and round, Anthony.
Okay, excellent. I just
They
want to
do.
make sure. I'm just trying to anger Jeremy by telling that joke every time. But Jeremy, what's new with you?
Not too much. I've been reading Ready Player 2, which is the sequel to Ready Player 1.
Now, I've been seeing some controversy surrounding this book, Ready Player 2. I actually don't know much about it. I didn't read any of the articles. I just saw the headlines, which everybody does, right? But there's been a lot of controversy about Ready Player 2. Do you know anything about that controversy? How do you feel about that?
I haven't read it, but I can guess what it is, based on the book so far. Which is so Ready Player 1 is not great philosophical science fiction or anything, right? It's like good popcorn fun kind of book. And then he wrote a book that historically the second book is, not as successful as the first one. And I don't think it did very well. So it kind of feels like his publishers and whatnot, told him to go back to the well of, reliable things that'll make money and to do this book. And feels like they had a lot of input on it. It kind of feels like he became self-conscious about his writing style. So far I'm not a huge fan of it. It's the writing's a little it's a little cumbersome. He's obviously tossing in references because of various things. Like it's kind of obvious of why he's putting in some of these references. So we'll see how it ends up. But I don't think it's going to spawn another subpar movie or anything. But I did like the first one, so I decided to read the second one.
That's actually not the criticism that I've been hearing. It's more been obviously since my circles are around academia and feminist critique often pops up a lot. That's been more of the criticism towards that. But
yeah, well, that was the thing with the first. I mean, it was written from a high school guy's point of view, right? And so all the tropes were very stereotypical, and that's how it was written. And he's obviously trying to avoid that this time, but it's obvious that he's trying to avoid it. Like it's not a well-written shift.
Yeah, that's I would say just a general criticism is he's trying to correct the mistakes from the first one, but he doesn't know how to do it. Like he's completely oblivious on how to do it.
And it's pretty obvious, and that's how it reads.
All right, there you go. Ready Player 2, read by Jeremy. Now we move on to Michael Mann. Michael, you've been waiting patiently. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for hanging out there in El Paso for me. But what's going on? What's new with you?
Not much really. Just working every day. I'm not doing really too much in El Paso. We went out last night, but that's really the first night in a few months. But other than that, not doing much. I'm ready to come visit Auburn and see you guys.
And that's what the CDC wants. They want you to go out as much as possible and then travel as much as possible too. So Michael, obviously listening to the CDC, I understand we got to live, but you're wearing a mask. That's all that matters. I will say this, when I go to Victor's Jiu-Jitsu, it's inside and it's packed. And I'm one of the few who are wearing a mask. Like I understand the kids not wearing a mask. I totally get that. But the adults, wear your dang masks. Okay, people, all right, moving on. So, Michael Mann, do you mind us talking about what you do for a living? So how is that going?
Yeah, I'm just a strength and conditioning coach for a military special operations unit. And we're here in El Paso, and it's a unit of like 60 guys, and we just write their strength and conditioning workouts and try to make them better.
Have you been noticing an improvement with their physical performance?
Well, unfortunately, so I got here in June. We couldn't really work because everything was kind of shut down when I first got here. So we couldn't basically work out with them until August. And then I think we were going strong for about 2 months, and then that's when El Paso got really bad, so they shut everything down again for like a month and a half. So now we're on like a week. We just started back up, and we're on like week 3. So I mean, it's been broken up. So I mean, you can't really tell anything right now. But we're trying to. There's going to be a new physical fitness test here in the new year. So that's going to be our first little data point that we use for the next one. Of course, we can't really go off much of what's been going on the last few months.
Now, do you coach Olympic lifts with them, or do you just do cardio and stuff like that, or just do strength?
Me and the other coach we recently started doing some of the lifts, because for the past months we've just been doing basic movements, and then now we started adding in some of the variations like the hang clean pull and stuff like that. We just started that like last week, but it just depends kind of how they progress on. I mean, usually if they want to learn it, we'll teach it to them, but as a group, we're not going to teach everybody, because a lot of the guys just aren't interested in doing it.
I will say the older I get and the colder it gets during the winter, my knees are just not a fan of things. Just in general, anything. My knees are not enjoying squats, cleans, nothing. Not a fan. So right now I'm kind of dealing with the cold weather, having to warm up a little bit more before I start my squat session, right? Work out those glutes, which you have to do. Yeah, so I'm kind of dealing with my knees kind of giving me some issues. Not like not hurting, just like aching, just continually aching throughout the whole workout, which is not fun, I must say. Well, that's what we talk about here on Sci-Fi Gangsters. Physical working out, physical activity. We're really on point with our niche audience. We're creating a niche audience talking about fitness and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that was catching up. I've been playing a lot of Madden lately. I don't know if you guys play Madden at all, but I've been playing a lot of Madden.
No, we play good games, Anthony.
Yeah, I don't play sports games. I play sports.
But yeah, so I've been playing like the new Madden, which has the new mini game called The Yard, which takes me back to NFL Blitz. I don't know if any of you guys played NFL Blitz in the arcade, or NFL Street, which was like a PS2 game or something like that.
I mean, is it legitimately does it have the gameplay of Blitz?
No, it's definitely toned down, but it's like a halfway point between Madden and I would say NFL Street. It's closer to NFL Street if you ever played NFL Street.
I really enjoyed NFL Street.
What was that?
I really enjoyed NFL Street.
Yeah, I loved NFL Street. But so it's kind of like that, but it's even more toned down than that. You can create a character, and then you draft, when you play a game against somebody, you draft players, right? And I must say I'm holding my own. Usually when I play other people online, like Call of Duty, I get destroyed. But I've been holding my own on NFL Yard, or NFL Madden The Yard. So I've been having a good time there. I just want to brag about that I've been holding my own online playing people. But yeah, that's it. Oh, we can go ahead and move on to our next topic. This topic, the one that we've all been waiting for. We give our list of the top 3 best villains of all time. Should be a hard list to make. And we all made our top 3. So what we'll do is we'll start with we'll start with 3, and then we'll work our way down. How's that sound for everybody? Who wants to start?
I can go. I'll start.
All right, Acid.
I'll pull it up here. Okay, so there are so many. I mean, how do you pick, right? But I went ahead and went with actually one of my daughter's favorites. I asked her who would be in her top 3. Well, this was her number 1, but it wouldn't be my number 1, but it was a great idea. So I chose Voldemort from Harry Potter. because it's on TV all the time. I think every channel on the weekend has Harry Potter weekend. So I see this villain's face just about every weekend. But anyway, I mean, he's pretty sinister. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, he's killed Harry's parents, tried to kill Harry himself. It didn't work, obviously. I mean, for those of you who have been living under a rock for the last, 20 years or whatever, if you don't know the story, you know what? There are no spoilers here.
I do not know the story. Like, so what I always tell people with Harry Potter is I've seen the first one and I've seen the last one.
Okay.
So I have no idea what's
So you have no idea what's going on.
And then I saw the Fantastic Beasts. Where are they? Why can't we?
I did not see that. I saw about half of it and was kind of disappointed that it wasn't really. I mean, it wasn't Harry Potter. Let's just be honest. It just wasn't. And so I was just like, it's fine, whatever. Like it's fine. It's just they should have ended it right there at the last movie, and just let it go. Just let's move on. Go ahead and rake in the millions of dollars on playing this thing over and over again for the next 50 years, like Star Wars, and let's just head on. But yeah, so Voldemort is
from Jeremy. Jeremy, did you have a disagreement on that?
Yeah. I mean, I'd like it. I mean, it's not a strong disagreement. Like
I like it, and you better like it too.
Yeah. I mean, I really like Eddie Redmayne in the Newt Scamander role, and I mean, I think it's his mannerisms, like from if you're talking about like a representation standpoint, the mannerisms he has in the movie, I think a lot of people would identify with that. So I do think there was a lot of value in the first Fantastic Beasts. The second one, probably not quite as good. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I didn't think the second one was that great either. It kind of strayed away from the Beast and more so into another storyline, like the first one.
Did we ever find out where we could get the Fantastic Beasts? Did we ever figure it? Was that question ever answered?
It's named after the book that Newt writes, which is referenced in the Harry Potter books as one of their textbooks. So that's part of it.
Okay. All right, there you go. Acid, did you have anything to? Did you see how I caught myself? Acid, did you have anything to add to Voldemort? He doesn't have a nose, right? Is that the thing? He doesn't have a nose?
He has holes in his face. I mean,
yeah. When he comes back, I've always wondered, like, is it like, do children find him scary purely because of his appearance in the movies? I would assume so.
I don't know. I mean, I do like the baldness. I mean, I think that's pretty intimidating. The no nose is pretty intimidating. I mean, he's a tall guy. I mean, he's just in general, he's a tall guy.
Yeah, and played by the great actor, Ralph Fiennes.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't look up how tall he was or anything, but I mean, you can tell, like, when you're watching the movies, he's above everyone. So except for Hagrid, of course. But.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to our next number 3. Should we go to Michael? Should we go to Michael next?
Yeah, I guess.
I have no photos, but we can discuss it.
Photos. All right. So no photos for this one, but Michael, who's your number 3?
I'm gonna go with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Nice.
All right.
I'm liking that one. Delicious and scary all at the same time.
Delicious and scary.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to note that it was created from someone's imagination. So,
Yeah.
Now, Michael, we're talking about Ghostbusters. Now, I was a little bitty kid when did Ghostbusters come out? Was it 80? When did that come out?
Probably the 80s.
Yeah, it was the second Ghostbusters, right? With Stay Puft?
No. Stay Puft was the first one.
That was the first one.
I saw the second one in the theaters, and I was terrified with that painting guy.
June 16th, 1989 was Ghostbusters 2.
Yep. So, yeah. And then what was the first one?
June 7th, 1984.
Ooh, the year I was born. Me
There you
and
go.
Jeremy both born that year. Is that true?
That is correct.
You're born in '84.
I was born in 1984. It was a great year.
Wow.
But yeah, so there you go. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is number 3. Jeremy, we're gonna go to you. What's your number 3?
So my number 3 is Hans Landa from Inglourious Bastards.
Oh man.
So I think it's Tarantino's best movie.
Really?
And yeah,
We'll come back to
yeah,
that.
I think so. So Tarantino's dialogue is always fantastic. But the aesthetic of it, the sound editing, I think it's his best movie. And so, the character, is played by Christoph Waltz, who's a fantastic actor. And this was really his breakout role in this movie. And so he plays this terrifying hunter during World War II. And somehow, Christoph Waltz's particular, his charisma comes through. So it's this awful human, but it's a great act, a very well acted role. So that's why he's number 3.
Yeah, actually, I agree with that 100%. And in fact, if we had to make the list, I would probably put him in there, right? So I 100% agree with that as being one of the best villains. I actually show that opening scene where he's talking to the person who's hiding the Jews in the basement.
Yeah, and they swap.
In my classes when we talk about auteur theory. It's kind of an evidence of his style, of Tarantino's style. But that's probably one of the best scenes. And one of my favorite scenes in film is that opening sequence.
Yeah, I think the entire movie I think is very, very tight. I think it was a very well made movie. So the other caveat on this list is I didn't include guys like Vader and Khan, right, which are would obviously be at the top of any list, but so that's the caveat. I didn't try to go a little bit different, but
yeah, I agree with you, and that's kind of how I handled my list as well. I didn't go for top 3, the obvious top 3. I went with just 3 that I think would be interesting to talk about. All right, so I'll go ahead and get to my 3. I don't want to do my honorable mentions real quick. Of course, HAL 9000, Reverse Flash from the Flash TV series, Joker, obviously, except for the film Joker, which is terrible. Scorpius from Farscape. And so he almost made my list. If we were doing the sci-fi greatest villains of all time, I think Scorpius would be on that list. And then Killmonger from the Black Panther film is also another fantastic villain. But my number 3 is, I forgot which one. Who was my number 3?
Negan.
Oh, it's Negan. All right, so I always feel like what makes a great villain is someone you as an audience member are actually terrified of. It should generate some sort of fear in you, even if that fear is just fear of losing characters that you like, right? So, and I think Negan, obviously, he generates that affect. And in the opening, when he's first introduced, obviously this is not a spoiler. It is a spoiler, but he kills 2 characters right off the bat. One of them is sort of a surprise, but it's just he sort of, especially when it comes to Rick, who is sort of this dominant figure throughout the whole series, he completely demasculates that character in one scene, and that's utterly terrifying. And then throughout the whole season, when he's introduced, because I'm not caught up on The Walking Dead. I need to go back and rewatch it. So I understand that he was eventually defeated. But that season where he's just completely dominating this group once again, and not only should you be terrified of the villain, but you should also simultaneously, in this paradoxical way, like the villain. That should be the dynamics of any good villain. You like the villain, but you also are completely terrified of the villain. And I think Negan is the perfect example of that dynamic, where he just seems to always one-up the good guys every time.
I mean, and in the show, they got the absolute perfect actor.
Yeah, they did.
To play him. I mean, Jeffrey Dean Morgan is fantastic.
Yep, I 100% agree with that. That is why he is my number 3. So we'll go ahead and move on to number 2 on the list. Acid, go ahead and tell us your number 2.
All right. Excuse me. My number 2, I had to throw video games in there. I just had to. If you're familiar with the Final Fantasy series, my number 2 would be probably the greatest villain of all the Final Fantasies, and that is Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. Just absolutely, he has like the Messiah complex. He is here to save the world by destroying it. I mean, it's just one of those big, huge stories. He was created in a lab. He has become self-aware that he is the only one that can take control and make everything work by removing everything and starting it his way. Great battles within the game of him. I mean, it starts off small, and then of course at the end, if you ever want to play Final Fantasy VII, it's a fantastic playthrough. But great game, great villain, and that is why he is my number 2.
You know, Final Fantasy is one of those games where I understand the popularity of Final Fantasy, but I've actually never played any Final Fantasy game. That's the one where you hide around in a box, right? Is that Final Fantasy?
Hide around in a box?
That's Metal Gear Solid.
Gosh. See, I've never played a Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, I've actually played Metal Gear Solid. The PlayStation 2 version, where you hide around in a box.
Okay.
All right, so that's number 2
That's number
for
2.
Acid Train. Michael, what's your number 2?
Well, I feel my 3 are just the popular ones, I guess. Maybe besides the Stay Puft. That's not a very popular one, but I kind of went a totally different route. But I'm going to say my number 2 is Thanos, just from looking at the, alignment, good, evil scale. Yeah, I'd consider him kind of lawful evil, because you can make an argument that he's not really evil, which... I think it's pretty powerful.
Is he though? I mean, wouldn't you say that he is evil? Like how? I know I've heard people make the argument before that maybe.
I don't think he's not killing out of spite. He's killing out of love, in a sense.
Yeah, well, it depends. Like, are we talking comic Thanos, or are we talking movie universe Thanos?
I'll say the cinematic universe.
Okay. I mean, yeah, like resources are finite. This is a path toward, it's sort of a utilitarian thing. Like, if everyone exists, then eventually no one will exist. But if you cut that in half, then at least there's good for half the population.
Maybe he's not evil. Maybe he's just the strongest one of us all.
And of course, the argument against this is, why not just snap to do double the resources? Like, if you really, I mean, that just seems like a more.
Is that within the power of the stones?
What was that?
Is that within the power of the stones?
Yeah, can you create life with the stones?
You can bring life back. I don't know if you is that one of the rules? Is this like the genie lamp where you can't bring back the dead? Is that one of the rules I did not know about?
Well, with the time stone, you can shift back something that happened momentarily. I don't know if you can shift, shift on a big scale to bring back, more resources in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, you would assume creation is harder than destruction, and the destruction almost killed him with the first snap. So.
All right, well, there you go.
You can make the argument, I think.
We got fans of killing mass amount of people here in the discussion so far.
He could also be in our top 3 hero list too.
Okay, sure, yes, right, definitely the case. All right, so number 2 for Jeremy.
So my number 2 is Gaius Baltar from Battlestar Galactica. So I love Baltar. Like, I don't even really consider him a villain, even though he is definitely he would be the villain, one of the villains in the show. So he's, you know, arguably the smartest guy in the fleet, is inadvertently responsible for the destruction of the entire human race to a certain extent.
Is it or is it just flat out he's responsible?
No, I mean he was responsible, but he wasn't aware of the repercussions of his actions, right? He, you know, sort of gets into the political game, finds out he enjoys it, ends up being a terrible president while he's running the survivors, the government of the survivors, but then sort of has this redemption arc where he realizes that there is something outside of himself, and he does get something out of doing things for others. So he never really gets reabsorbed as a sort of viable member of the community because everyone's still skeptical of him and whatnot. But he is a very interesting character, very good arc, and yeah, I like Baltar.
It's been such a long time since I've seen Battlestar Galactica, so there's a lot of areas where I just don't remember what happens in terms of the narrative and the arcs of all the characters. I remember the disappointing ending, and I remember there being fantastic episodes. Like I remember that. I remember the first couple seasons being fantastic, but I do remember the disappointing ending.
Yeah. I mean, you know, no series really ends well, right? Like
except for the Next Generation.
Did it end well?
I think so. I thought that was a fantastic.
I mean, I liked the episode, but like wrapping up a series, right? I mean, it's different, right? Because like they're trying to put a bow on all these storylines, and Next Generation didn't really do that, right? Like it.
I can see that argument.
Yeah. It's you know, Baltar is one of the standouts of a show that's full of standout characters.
All right, there you go. So Battlestar Galactica villain there. My number 2, I don't remember what order I put mine in. I apologize. Did I put Kilgrave in as number 2? Okay, so Kilgrave is my number 2. And if I redid this list, would he make it into my top 3 villains of all time? Maybe not, but I found him to be one of the more, once again, we kind of come back to the rules of what makes a good villain. You being utterly terrified of the villain, I think is very important. And I think Kilgrave could have been extremely corny, right? He can make you do whatever he could just say something, you have to do it, which I can see that going in a very corny way. But the way they did it was completely terrifying in terms of how powerful a character could truly be, because they didn't censor what he makes people do. Like, so they didn't when he says, leave your kid behind and drive me in my car, that is horribly terrifying, right? Or go F yourself, right? That sort of thing. That's scary. And I like the allegories. There's been a lot of written about the allegories of like sexual abuse and domestic violence, how you can see this character as being sort of like inflicting this violence on a woman where it just never goes away. Like it's kind of a metaphor for like trauma that never goes away, which I always enjoy reading those articles that kind of discusses that. But I really enjoyed this villain. I thought it's kind of a bittersweet ending where he does end up getting killed, where you kind of want him to survive to the next season because you enjoyed the villain so much, but you also don't want him to turn into like a Loki. And I like Loki, but I would not want to see Kilgrave turn into a Loki character where he's this anti-hero kind of a thing.
Like you can't come back from the things he did. Like he's and one of my favorite episodes in any TV series is the one where he breaks out of that cell. That is by far one of my favorite episodes, where he breaks out and he says, put a bullet in your head, and she puts the gun to her head and pulls it, and it's there's no ammo in there or whatever.
that was one of the coolest scenes ever. But yeah, so yeah, that's my number 2 is Kilgrave from Jessica Jones.
Yeah, another great casting job with David Tennant.
Yeah,
In
excellent.
the role.
All right, Asa, we're down to our number 1, our top one villain of all time.
Well,
Who is your number 1?
This villain, and I'm hoping you all agree, that this villain deserves to be at least number 1 on somebody's list. From one of my favorite movie trilogies of all time, The Matrix. So Agent Smith would be my number 1, just for the sheer fact of how much power he has within the Matrix. I'm sure you've all seen the Matrix trilogy. And at the end where there's just so many of them, I've actually got the picture of him and all his copies and everything. It's just him being the complete opposite of what Neo is, just being that his counterpart. I mean, that to me represents the perfect villain. You have pure good over here, and then you have pure evil over here, and then they clash at the end. And of course, you see the outcome of what happens. Of course, I won't spoil it for any of those who have not seen The Matrix. But actually, I did hear, I don't know if y'all have heard of another Matrix coming out with
comes out next year.
Keanu Reeves. Yeah, I haven't researched that at all, but yeah, that's good to know. I'm looking forward to something like that.
Yeah, so. It'd be interesting to see what they did. I
want to see how they bring that back.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like the first Matrix. I wasn't quite on board with what they did in the second and third one. But he was blind at the end of it, right?
He was blind. He was blind at the end. He was blind at the end, but he was still able to see. Yeah. I mean, not see, but see his surroundings as far as Neo could see his surroundings and feel his surroundings to get to where he needed to be to battle Agent Smith.
I saw one of the from the second Matrix. I think the first Matrix is a classic and it'll hold up forever. I recently saw the fight scene from the Matrix 2 where Agent Smith is like a bunch of copies. That does not hold up.
Really?
That does not.
It does. Well, it doesn't hold up as far as CG is concerned. If that's what you're talking about. Okay, yeah. As far as CG is concerned, it doesn't hold up. But if you're just looking at it from a fight scene perspective, though, that's a pretty good fight scene as far as the idea and how they executed it for I don't know whatever year that was that the second movie came out. I
recreated that scene in our D&D campaign. It was my only goal. In one of the fights.
What they could recreate stuff like that, like remastered versions of the Matrix, like for the CG portions of those movies. I mean, we have the technology now. We could. I mean, they won't, but
we can rebuild it.
They could rebuild it. I mean, I think they'd do a fantastic job too. But yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite trilogies. So
I think that scene would have been great if they would have just used a bunch of body doubles. Like I don't know how practical that would be, but yeah. So when you watch it. It's like PlayStation 2 bad graphics. Like it's not very. It does not hold up very well. But I do definitely.
Because you'd have to find so many people with similar body styles, get all their hair the same. Of course, the suit's fine, the sunglasses are fine. I mean, I just don't think there were so many. I don't think there would be a way to do that.
All right, so that's number 1 for Acid Train, Mr. Smith from The Matrix. Michael, what's your number 1?
I'm going to go what probably, when you say villain, everyone probably thinks this one. I'm going to say Joker. Just from
which iteration of the Joker is your favorite?
Probably, definitely the Dark Knight, more chaotic version.
I feel like no one that I've talked to Joker-wise finds that original cinema Joker Jack Nicholson was the best. Is that a fair assumption?
I think most people will say Heath Ledger. I think most people would say that. Then you have some people who might say the terrible version of Joker, which is Joaquin Phoenix. His performance was fantastic, by the way. I don't want to hate. Like it really was. He has nothing to do with why I didn't like the film. But so
Yeah, I think the Jack Nicholson version. I mean, it's got Tim Burton's fingers on it,
right?
Right.
And
So
I like Tim Burton's stuff. Like I like
Yeah,
his way of
yeah.
looking at things and bringing those things to life. And I thought the original Batman movie was a phenomenal movie. And I mean, I like the other two that came after, not as much. I mean, but I still enjoyed them. I still enjoy that Tim Burton style.
I mean, it's definitely a keystone in comic book movies. Like it's very, very important in terms.
Yeah, I mean, you ever Dance with the Devil in the Pale Moonlight?
Right.
Like, I mean, that's one of the better lines in comic movies.
Mm-hmm.
And Jack Nicholson is one of the greatest actors.
Yeah,
of all
he's
time,
a legend in himself. I mean,
Yeah.
between Batman and The Shining, and I mean, there's just so many. I just
I always love the drug comparison. So it goes, how's it go again? It goes, original Joker from Adam West is LSD. Then you have Jack Nicholson is what? Is it cocaine? And then you have Heath Ledger, which is meth, right? And then is it meth? And then you have
we do not
meth
condone
is
drugs on this channel.
Jared Leto.
Meth is Jared Leto, and then I don't know what would So it kind of associates with what is Heath Ledger's drug? I can't remember. There's always that association with what this villain is supposed to be on or whatever, and it has everything to do with the decade that when it was filmed. Anyways, so there you go. So we're talking about drugs. All right, so moving on to number one for Jeremy. What's your number one?
So my number one is Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men.
Okay.
So I think it's the quintessential pure psychopath in this villain, right? He's unrelenting. He has absolutely no empathy, doesn't care about anything. And I mean, the interesting aspect of it is the way that he kills people, right? With things that you normally wouldn't associate with danger. So he's just unstoppable and will kill you with whatever he has. And so when I think of just pure evil, right, that's the character that comes to mind.
Yeah, and he has a very unique weapon. Was it the cattle thing, the cattle killer? What was it called?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the compressed air punch. Yeah.
Very interesting. Jeremy going with like the auteur villains here. What was your third one? I can't remember. What was number 3?
Hans Landa.
And who was number 2?
Gaius Baltar.
It just means Anthony doesn't pay attention to you.
That's
all that means.
No, what it means is I have a terrible memory. That's what it means. I have a really bad memory. All right, so my number one, and this counts as one villain, the Borg. So notice how I didn't say the Borg Queen, the Borg. So I mean like next generation Borg. And what makes this villain so terrifying is that it's overpowered. So it's this faceless enemy that you can sort of project your own fears onto. So if you want to talk about like the fear of losing your individuality, the fear of technology sort of like sapping out our humanness, right? So you can kind of project your own fears onto this villain. And then just in terms of how completely overpowered this villain is, how defenseless the Enterprise is against the Borg. I feel like the Borg sort of loses its interestingness when you start adding the Borg Queen in there, and you start adding all this other kind of elements to it. Especially when
wouldn't you say Locutus was the beginning of that? Right? Like he was a Borg, but also had a leadership and sort of individual.
Yeah, I can definitely see that being the case. But the Borg Queen is not a manifestation of Hugh, right? The Borg Queen existed before Hugh. Is that right? I mean, if we retcon it.
I was talking about Locutus, so Picard.
Oh, Locutus. Yeah.
So I mean, he was, you retcon it as he was created by the Borg Queen, but.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I feel like I still enjoyed the Borg in Voyager and all the other films and everything. I enjoy Seven of Nine and all that kind of stuff. So I just feel like the Borg is just in terms of like a great villain. They often get overused in Star Trek because they were so popular. And it's like, oh, what are we gonna do? Oh, we'll just have the Borg show up or whatever. And it pops up in way too many Star Trek novels as well. And especially when you talk about the original, like what created the Borg. I don't think that's very interesting. I feel like that sort of it makes it less interesting when you try to come up with an origin story. Same thing with the Joker. It makes the character a lot less interesting when you try to come up with an origin story. But yeah, I definitely enjoy the Borg. I feel like it's a great villain. But yeah, that's my number one.
Yeah. The unique thing with the Borg was that it wasn't personal, right? Like it was never malice that drove them. It was just, this is the best thing for you. So.
And what I definitely enjoyed about it, and it's definitely not the case so much in later Star Trek series and episodes, when humans are able to fight against the Borg a little bit, like head to head, like they can kind of. But previously, it was like the Borg show up, you need to get out of there, right? And
Yeah.
the Borg show up, you need just to find a way to get out, right? Some of you are gonna die, you need to get out, and that was kind of what was so powerful about that villain, is that a lot of times an episode would just be like, how do we survive getting out of here? Which I found very compelling as a villain.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's my number one. All right, so there you go. That was our top 3 villains of all time. Maybe you disagree when I'm talking to the people who are watching. All 3 of you. How many congruent viewers do we have right now?
27 million people are watching right now.
Oh, 27
27
million. Well,
million.
there you go. All 27 million of you.
Yep.
Write your.
They're all from Indonesia.
All from Indonesia. All right, I'll take whatever fans we can get. I'm on board. But don't forget to like and subscribe and write some comments. What do you think are the top 3 villains? Don't forget to comment below.
Oh, you're going to be one of those YouTubers. Okay.
Right. And if you can, don't forget to hit the bell so you'll get updates on everything. All right, so let's move on to trivia. So have you prepared any trivia questions for us, Acid?
I've got trivia questions for you. We have our usual 8, similar to what we did last time. Straight question. There is a straight answer. I'll give you a moment to think about it. I am going to find some.
And of course, this is.
We're going to have some. It's December, right?
Oh boy.
I'm going to give us a little bit of just some low key Christmas jazz to think of. Y'all won't be able to hear it, but the viewers will.
What about Snake Jazz from Rick and Morty? Any Rick and Morty people here?
I like Rick and Morty.
Snake Jazz.
I haven't watched it yet.
Pretty funny.
I just started watching The Boys.
Oh yeah, it's good.
I haven't watched the second season of The Boys either. I need to catch. There's so many shows to watch.
Have you been watching The Mandalorian?
I have been watching The Mandalorian. That is the one show that I've been keeping track of. I don't think I've seen the most recent one. I saw the Jedi one. That was good.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was
All right.
So.
I can't wait for them to do more.
We'll start with this one.
Like more stuff on the Jedi, just like the stories, during this time period, and maybe like short stories about Vader or something on
Will
Disney.
Luke show up? Will Luke show up? Young Luke?
Probably not.
All right, here we go. So trivia, here we go.
Okay, so our categories, if I can see them in the darkness, we have sci-fi and fantasy. We have comics and video games. We have science and technology, and we have geek life. And Mike, since you're the beautiful bearded guest, I'm going to let you pick our first category.
Let's do Geek Life.
Geek life it is.
Ooh, Geek Life. This is just gonna be us listening to Jeremy every time.
Do I need a pen and paper for this?
I don't think so. Not for these.
Okay.
All right. Geek life. On the television series, The Big Bang Theory.
Oh god, this is
Dr. Sheldon Cooper introduces the game Rock, Paper, Scissors, Lizard, Spock. What can beat Spock? Rock, scissors, lizard, or nothing? Take a minute, think about it.
What were the choices again?
Okay, so what beats Spock? Does rock beat Spock? Does scissors? How about lizard? Or does nothing beat Spock?
I remember the
Anything to think
episode.
about?
I just don't remember what
Okay.
was said.
All right, Anthony, we're going to start with you.
So I've never seen a single episode of this terrible show.
Okay. Well, what would be your
Uh,
best educated guess? If you were playing rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock, what do
I'm
you
gonna
think
go
would
with-
beat Spock?
I'm gonna go with Lizard.
Okay. Michael, what would be your answer?
I'm gonna go with nothing.
Okay. And Jeremy, of course.
So I would go with lizard because of the Gorn reference.
Okay.
But I think it's nothing. So I'm gonna go with nothing.
Okay, so 2 nothings and a lizard. The correct answer, strangely enough, is lizard. Anthony gets this one. Lizard poisons Spock. So there's your answer.
Is there a reason why Lizard poisons Spock?
I don't remember. I do watch The Big Bang Theory, but I don't remember what he said in the episode. I'm sure there's a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I would, as a Star Trek fan, I would have gone with lizard if it was referencing the Gorn. But
Okay, Anthony, would you like to pick our next category for our first round? We have sci-fi and fantasy, comics and video games, and science and technology left.
First, I want to enjoy this moment where I'm ahead. There we go. Okay, comics
Okay.
and video games is my category that I have chosen.
Okay. What patriotic 1940s Marvel superhero was revived from suspended animation to join the Avengers?
I've only written
I mean, you
several
picked the category.
papers on this character.
Okay, Anthony, go first, buddy.
I mean,
Or do y'all just wanted to say it at the same time?
yeah, it's Captain America.
Captain America. Yeah, so that should not count.
That should not count. You mean we grab another one? Should I grab another?
Yeah, grab another one.
We'll grab another one at the end. How about that? So I won't count that one.
We're not going to put up with this easy question garbage
Okay.
from this gig game.
Jeremy, sci-fi and fantasy or science and technology?
It was science and technology.
Okay. To be safe around a black hole, stay away from the point of no return around its edge. Okay, that's. What is the term for this boundary? Is it ergosphere, Schwarzschild radius, photon cusp, or event horizon?
This one is also an easy one. But we'll keep it. I know Jeremy knows this one.
It's a terrifying movie.
It is. So who wants to go first? I'll go first. It's
Okay.
Event Horizon.
Okay. Mike,
Event Horizon.
Jeremy.
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I just picked the first 2 cards that were on the.
Well,
On the top
maybe
of the
don't give us the.
Like the next one's going to be easy too if you watch Star Trek.
I don't watch Star Trek, so
Okay. Well, if Mike gets this one, he gets 10 points. Okay.
there we go.
All right.
All right.
Enough.
It'll be a shot in the dark.
McCoy in Star Trek likes to point out that he's not a bricklayer or an escalator or a magician. What instead does he profess that he is?
Do we have options?
There are no options.
There are no
You just
options.
have to know.
We'll go, Mike. Mike, go first. What is it, Mike?
I'll give you a hint. Can I give him the line hint? Damn
Yeah,
it,
give him a
Jim! I'm a blank, not a. What were these? Not a magician. Damn it, Jim! I'm a blank, not a magician.
I have no idea.
The correct answer. You want to guess?
I'm gonna say wizard.
Wizard. Okay, it's not wizard. He is a doctor, not a magician.
I have no idea.
Okay, that entire card. I'm sorry, that entire card. We're just gonna get rid of here. Okay.
I'm assuming some of them are easy and some of them are hard.
Well, they should. I mean, there should be a mix on these. Okay. All right. Well, what was the No, that was that one. Okay, we're gonna give you a video game one because I know y'all are very lax in the video games. This might be a difficult one for all.
Unless
of you.
it's Madden the Yard.
It has nothing to do with Madden the Yard. I tell you what, though, I will give you an EA question.
Okay.
How about that? It'll be an EA question. All right. Okay, you should know it if you are familiar with EA at all. What Electronic Arts car racing video game franchise boasts more than 17 releases? More than 17 of these. And I don't know when this was printed, but there's probably 17 more by now.
I think I know this one.
What Electronic Arts or EA car racing video game franchise boasts more than 17 releases? All right, Anthony, what do you got? What do you think? What do you think that is?
I think it's Gran Turismo.
Mike, what do you think?
For some reason, I want to say Forza, but I don't think Forza is EA.
Is that final answer?
Yep.
Okay, Jeremy?
I agree with Anthony. I think it's Gran Turismo.
I think you're all wrong. It's Need for Speed. Need for
Oh,
Speed.
wow.
Oh,
Come on, guys.
I thought of Need.
That was an easy one.
I thought of Need for Speed, but I didn't think they had 17 games.
There are probably 25 of them by now.
I thought there was
Gran
only
Turismo
4.
was Sony,
Oh.
and Forza is Microsoft.
Well, there you go.
They all
I
have.
thought I had that one.
They all have their own. Well, that's the thing. Each think of it this way. So Gran Turismo has as many games as there are PlayStation systems. Forza, the same thing. If there's whatever many Xboxes there are, that's their usual release title, racing game.
I played a lot of Need for Speed when I was a kid, but I guess that's why I only thought there was only 4 games because I only played.
There's only 4 there.
Yeah, I think I've only seen them in arcades. Like, I had no idea there were that many of them.
I didn't know they kept making them.
It's kind of like Command and Conquer. There's just so many of them. Okay, let's do.
What's your favorite Need for Speed?
Oh, what is my favorite Need for Speed?
Need for Speed Summer Nights.
God, yeah, no.
I think the biggest one when I was a kid was the Midnight Club Dub Edition one.
That wasn't a Need for Speed. That was just called Midnight Club.
I thought it was Need for Speed.
Know your car racing games, people. Come on.
This whole time, my
Hot
life was a
Pursuit
lot.
was probably one of the better ones I enjoyed. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, because you got to be and chase. That was the one that you could be chased by the cops and be the cops, all in the same game. So I enjoyed that one. I guess I don't play them anymore. But all right, we'll do one more video game and then we'll move on. Okay, which of these is not a type of Nintendo DS? Do you always know what a Nintendo DS is?
No.
The Nintendo handheld. It's the handheld Nintendo
So
system.
Game Boy.
Okay. Which of these, I'm going to list them. Which of these is not a type of the Nintendo DS? Okay. You have 3DS. You have DSi. You have DS XL. Or you have DS Mini. Which one is not a type of Nintendo DS? One more time. 3DS, DSi, DS XL, or DS Mini? Jeremy, what you got?
DSi? No idea.
Mike?
Yeah, I was gonna say DSi.
Anthony?
I was going to say DSi.
Oh, terrible. It's DS Mini. Come on. Come on, guys. Y'all are better than this.
Well, if they have an XL, I know they have an XL, so
They do.
why not have a Mini too?
It is a Mini, technically. The original is a Mini.
I have a DXXXX, but that's a different kind
That's
of
a whole nother kind of,
different kind of
yeah.
game. Different kind of game for that one.
So far, I've only divvied out 1 point. Anthony is still in the lead.
Man, I'm
You
destroying.
are just killing it today.
I'm destroying.
That may change here right now. Who wrote the original Linux code? Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, or Linus Torvalds? Do you need the list again?
Yes.
Okay. Who wrote the original Linux code? Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, or Linus Torvalds? Linus Torvalds. Who wrote it? All right, Anthony, what you got?
I'm pretty sure it's Linus.
Okay. Mike?
I actually don't know, but just because his name is Linus, I'm gonna go with Linus.
Okay. Maybe that's maybe I'm trying to throw you off here. All right, Jeremy, what you got?
Yeah, Linus.
That is correct. It is Linus. He began writing the first line of Linux code in 1991. So
Linus.
I think it makes sense that that's the correct answer because all the other people got their they worked off other people's stuff, right? So they
No, they didn't. Bill Gates did not.
Oh, that's right. Bill Gates did not.
Yeah, I mean, Jobs didn't really. He just wasn't technical. I mean, Zuckerberg didn't either. Like, they were all self-made people.
No one likes these people. Don't defend them.
But those were obviously not Linux people. I mean, like, they could have chosen other people to toss in there.
Okay. Let's go with another Geek Life question. I like these. These are interesting. So, which sandwich cookie became the best-selling cookie in China, in part by reducing the amount of sugar in its recipe to suit local tastes? What sandwich cookie became the best-selling cookie in China, in part by reducing the amount of sugar in its recipe to suit local taste? Why not? You gotta be. If you know this, you are a geek. Okay.
I have a guess.
I have a guess too.
I mean, I have a guess, but
Well, isn't that the whole point?
it's not educated. It's just
Let's start with Mike this time. What you got?
I'm gonna go with moon pie.
Okay. Jeremy, what is your non-educated guess?
Oreo.
Anthony?
Mine was also Oreo.
The correct answer is Oreo. It is Oreo.
I think the sandwich part is what gave it away. Because what other cookie is a sandwich cookie?
Well, Nutter Butters are.
Yeah. Oatmeal cookie, like those.
Yeah. The oatmeal. Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Those are good. This is also why I'm as big as I am. Okay. This is a sci-fi fantasy topic here. From which of the following areas does the zombie myth originate? Okay.
I actually know the answer to this question.
Oh, okay. Would anyone like to answer and double up their points without me reading the multiple choice answer?
I'm gonna say Jewish golems. I have no idea if that's right.
Anthony?
This one,
You just said you knew it.
yeah, hold on.
I can't hold on. You just said you knew it. You were supposed to be like, it's this. It's this answer.
I think it's African.
I'm going to need you to be more specific.
Yeah, I was gonna say what.
All right, we're going to come back to you. Mike, do you have just a... Before y'all get all these wrong and I give you the multiple choice answers, do you have a guess?
No, I'm definitely gonna need the multiple choice.
Okay. Anthony, final chance before I read these off.
Oh, so I don't get the multiple choice guess?
No, you will, but I'm saying if this is your chance to get
To
2
show off.
points. If you get this
Shine.
correct, you get 2 points. But if I have to read off these multiple choice answers, you do not.
Is it a region? Do I need to be more specific, or do I need to be so it's witch doctor? Is my guess. That's my guess.
It is from which of the following areas does the
okay.
zombie myth originate? That is the question.
Like
Areas.
geographic areas?
Yes.
Oh, well, I didn't even understand the question.
Okay, we'll start over then. From which of the following areas does the zombie myth originate?
I guess go ahead and give us our choices.
Okay.
Zimbabwe.
Transylvania, Haiti, India, or West Africa? Those are your
I know.
multiple choice answers. Is it India, Haiti, West Africa, or Transylvania? I'm going to start with Jeremy on this one. We haven't started with Jeremy yet.
I mean, I would say Haiti because of the voodoo connection. But then Anthony said Africa, and you asked him to specify. So we'll go West Africa.
Okay, Mike.
West Africa as well.
Okay, Anthony.
It's actually Haiti. It is. I was wrong the first time. It's Haiti.
It's West Africa.
Oh no! I second guess myself.
He was so
Come on!
short.
Okay, African slaves brought the secrets of voodoo to Haiti and America from West Africa.
I read about this. Because in terms of like the zombie myth and where it comes from.
Okay.
My
This
goodness,
is a tight
I cannot
race,
believe
Gus.
that.
This is a
Does it
tight
have
race.
a more?
That was the best part of this whole thing. So far.
I cannot believe
That
I
was
second
pretty
guessed
good.
myself. I was right the whole time.
Is there a more specific location than West Africa?
I'm sure there could be. Well, he just said Africa at first, so. All right.
I feel like I get credit for that. Oh man, I cannot believe I second guessed.
Now you're
myself.
tied for first. Okay, so it's 3, 3, and 2. So this is a tight race, guys. All right, let's see. Where do I want to go next? We'll go with science and technology. What does the? Okay, you should probably. Some of you should get this. I don't know. I would probably know this. What does the 64 in Commodore 64 mean? Is it the version number? Is it kilobytes of memory? Is it the number of games available? Or is it the number of minutes it takes to boot up?
Give me those choices one more time.
So what does the 64 in Commodore 64 mean? Is it the version number? Kilobytes of memory? Number of games available? Or the number of minutes it takes to boot this dinosaur machine up before it starts working? Anthony, what you got, bud?
I'm assuming it's memory.
Mike
I'm gonna say version.
and Jeremy.
Memory.
The correct answer is kilobytes of memory.
Hmm.
Half as much as the Commodore 128.
There you go.
Okay.
I was gonna say that first, but I was like, that doesn't sound right.
Oh,
The
wait, was there
Nintendo 64 is not pixels, but what is it? What is 64? Nintendo 64. It has nothing to do with the graphics, right?
I don't know. I mean, I would assume it is the bit length,
That's
Mm.
what.
the register architecture.
That's it.
All right, this is
Yeah, I was waiting for one of the answers to be bit, regarding bit, but
Yeah, that was the Commodore 64 is too old. Like that was the they didn't have that.
All right,
do-
we're going back to video games. This is old school video games. I call them old school. I consider this old school.
All right. So as soon as me and Jeremy take the lead, that will be our final question.
What Seeing video game blockbuster was inspired by the Jules Verne novel The Mysterious Island?
Well, what did you say the first part?
What Seeing video game blockbuster was
The
in
Cyan?
CYAN
Oh, okay.
was inspired by the Jules Verne novel The Mysterious Island? There is no multiple choice.
So you said CYAN?
Yes. That is the company name who made this.
how old are we talking?
We're talking.
As
Actually,
old
hang
as
on.
you.
Actually, hang on. I'll check real quick.
That's not very old.
I have a guess.
I also have
1993.
I'm fairly confident.
That's what I'm talking about. 1993.
What system was it on?
It was on PC.
Oh boy.
I have a guess.
That probably just gave it away for some of you.
Not me.
It didn't give it away, but it makes me feel bad.
Mike's probably not even aware of this game if it's what I think it is.
What'd you say? 90 what?
1993 is when this
I
game
wasn't
came
born
out.
yet.
Late 93.
I was born a year later.
Oh.
All right, Anthony, what you got?
This is my guess. It could be wrong.
Okay.
Sim City.
Okay. Jeremy.
Missed.
All right, now, Michael, I'm going to give you 10 points if you can point to the person who is correct, because one of them is extremely correct, and one of them is so far from the true answer,
Oh,
it's
God,
quite
that is
embarrassing.
me. Come on.
Well, due to the confidence of Jeremy's voice and Anthony's reaction after you did that, I'm going to go with Jeremy.
Jeremy is correct with missed, and Mike wins the game with 12 points. He wins. Our first guest winner.
As long as Mike wins, I'm happy.
Pays to be a winner.
I'm giving him another 50 points for the epic beard, so he destroyed all of you. So
Never played Myst. Never played Myst.
never played Myst. Wow, that was that the very first point and click game?
It wasn't. I don't
know if it was the first.
The absolute first.
It's probably
but
the
it
first
was-
good one.
Yeah, I mean, Myst was huge.
Yeah.
You know, and Riven was also.
Yeah, Riven was good.
All right, that's
All right,
it. That is
yeah,
our
that's it.
show. We talked about our top 3 villains. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Acid Troy. I want to thank Jeremy. I want to thank Michael Mann, broadcasting live, ignoring the CDC's warnings about going out every night to the bars. But he's staying safe. He's got his mask until he has to make a drink, and then he puts his mask back on, which is okay. And then, but yeah, that's our show. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And, comment. Well, what do you think about the top 3 villains? I mean, you can comment and we'll respond. But yeah, that's our show. Goodbye, everybody.